Of Prime News on My Media Prime. Thanks for being a part of today's edition. Now, my name is Genda Peodrin Blanche King, and we're streaming we are live from the country's economic capital, Douala. We begin with news or recent updates from Moyoka subdivision in the southwest region of the country. The Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's office has paid a condolence visit to family members of Comfort Tumasan, who was recently murdered brutally in Moyoka. He equally reassured the population that security measures have been taken to ensure the safety of the people. Details in the following report with Clarice Ekoe.
Here lies the grave of late Comfort Tumasan, the 32-year-old mother of two, who was brutally killed by armed separatists. We are at Makanga Quarter in Moyoka, visiting the native home of the deceased, and on instruction from the head of government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Goute, is the Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's office, Confiance Ebune, accompanied by administrative authorities, as well as top personnel of the Defense and Security Forces from the Southwest region. His mission is to convey government's condolence message to the bereaved family and note their difficulties.
You and I and the world over saw the images of the brutal killing of this young lady. I came with a message of condolence from the Prime Minister, and also a message of encouragement to the administrative authorities and the forces of law and order, who are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that security reigns in this place. He also asked me to reiterate the call of the head of state to the youths who are still in the bushes to drop down their arms and come and join their friends who are in town, and some in the DDR centers.
Trying to recover from her loss, late Confirmed mom says she is under threat from the armed separatists. Due to the threat, her family members have all evacuated the house for safety elsewhere. Despite this, she is resolute in staying in her compound as she has nowhere to go.
That boy can this being a U1. The boy let's take a look at my beginning. It come again to the door. First time, it can know him. It's shameful doing me face to face. It cannot so. It's so many back. It's so much. So we taste more better for the compound. You don't pass on someone who bury for year. Wow, bury for year. See the compound house. So other people I don't know the. So that they told people they down. You know the part of the couple. I didn't know the name. I said, I can't believe how my dice have gone go. You know the compound.
While assuring her security, administration encouraged her to keep in touch at all times. Meanwhile, the population of Moyoka at large have been called to remain calm and continue to collaborate with defense and security forces stationed on ground for their security.
The regional delegate of state property and surveys for land tenure for the southwest region has been instructed by hierarchy to identify an eligible parcel of land for the Ndikosin Investment Company in Limbe. This follows the cancellation of ministerial order attributing a long-term lease on a private state land at Limbe to the group of company. And our recent decisions from the government of Cameroon allows repressive force from forces or by forces of law and order to ensure the obligatory wearing of face masks by all individuals. Our reporter, Dolin Gonde, was on the streets of Douala earlier today to find out if this decision is respected by denizens of the economic capital of Cameroon. She tells us more in the following report.
Despite government's repeated calls for Cameroonians to continue respecting anti-COVID-19 barrier measures in a bid to eradicate the killer COVID-19 pandemic, the response only seems like water being poured on a duck's back. With the recent decision for security officers to start using repressive force against defaulters, the scare is yet not enough for many Cameroonians. With Cameroon ranking among the top 10 countries with highest COVID-19 recovery rates in the world, the government is leaving no stone unturned in ensuring that COVID-19 becomes a thing of the past in no distant time. Although the recovery rate is high, recently Subsequently, in less than 24 hours, 24 more persons were tested positive of the virus, which took the total number of confirmed cases to 233. And in his regular tweets, the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malache, didn't fail to remind the public for more vigilance and consciousness. During last week's interministerial video conferencing meeting, it was disclosed that the number of infected cases was slightly upsurging, and one cause to this was the non-respect of anti-COVID-19 barrier measures by Cameroonians. It is within this week that a decision for the use of repressive force against defaulters by national security officers was adopted to remind recalcitrant Cameroonians that COVID-19 is yet to be combated. It is 1 week on since the decision was taken, and yet many Cameroonians are still not responding to the call. Reasons being...
C'est le gouvernement qui a fait que le peuple a lâché. On a d'abord fermé partout. On dit que confinement, que les gens restent à la maison, ou bien les gens mettent le cache-nez. Après, c'est le jour eux qui viennent dire qu'on ouvre les bars. Quand on a ouvert les bars maintenant, vraiment, les gens ont su que Corona est parti. Alors que Corona est en train de s'accomplir à tuer les gens. Mais le peuple ne connaissent pas parce que le gouvernement eux-mêmes ne parlent pas la vérité. Ils ne sont pas en train de nous dire la vraie vérité sur ce qui concerne le Corona. Parce que si nous disaient la vérité, nous on passe partout, on voit la police. Quand la police entre dans le bar, ils enlèvent le cache-nez, ils mettent en poche, ils sont en train de boire. Hein?
Despite constant police patrols, alongside face mask sellers parading all over the streets, many still claim innocence could be another reason for the non-respect of government's decision.
Donc, une grande majorité de personnes, ils ont lâché. On ne sait pas, vraiment, ça m'étonne, ça m'étonne. Alors qu'on nous parle de Corona. Hein? Moi, vraiment, je ne sais pas si Corona existe encore ou bien c'est déjà parti, mais je mets mon cache-nez.
For me, to use force is not a solution. Just talk and sensitize the people. Like I was saying, it's not easy. Something is just new for us. And we know that black people, they say that death is not kill them. It's like that. Just continue to talk and sensitize, and I think that everybody will start worried.
So far, out of the 18,118 confirmed cases, 16,504 have been successfully cured, giving a 91.2 recovery rate. And with these, Cameroonians are still reminded that COVID-19 is real.
Our Limbe-based correspondent equally visited some travel agencies and major spots in Limbe. He says most inhabitants have failed to respect government measures to fight against COVID-19 in the country. And to many, COVID-19 is still a dream or is not real. Let's now visit the report compiled by Kuma Unorimbo.
Despite efforts made by the government of Cameroon, backed by the support of some non-governmental organizations, to sensitize the population on the existence and reality of COVID-19, many are still of the opinion that COVID-19 is a propaganda and why not a myth. For others, COVID-19 is a Western disease and has not yet reached Cameroon.
There's no corona. Because if the corona be there, all that figure it's there for them because they don't die past we African then. One man they don't die past we African then. So we don't be like this, they just don't say coronavirus, this and that and that. Instead, why I put that mask to for me, that breed will be get for move them, with the assault and back for inside the belly, brings it. There's no corona.
The use of personal protective face masks and the respect of other preventive measures to fight COVID-19 is fast dying, as many will prefer to carry their face mask in their handbags or pockets and will only put it on for fear of punitive measures from law enforcement officers.
Policeman for road, they catch we for road, catch passenger for road, take 2,000, 3,000 levy for coronavirus. So wonder why we no wear no masks. They use the policeman, they don't even wear them. So when one go ask the policeman, say, why you know wear no masks? We catch him when no wear no masks. It's made we.
It is against this backdrop that a team of volunteers from After My Heart Global Foundation, led by the General Supervisor, visited the Mile 4 Park in Limbe to remind traveling agencies and park users about the realities of COVID-19 pandemic and that COVID-19 is not yet over. The theme reminded travelers to make sure that they wear their face masks often and to respect other preventive measures prescribed by the World Health Organization to curb the spread of coronavirus. The passengers were sensitized on the importance of washing their hands with soap and running water for at least 20 seconds before boarding the vehicle.
I'm aware of coronavirus and the measures I know that it is good for us to take to prevent coronavirus are you wear your mask, you put on your mask, and it's good that you wash your hands. Yes, I use my hand sanitizer and I wash my hands because as I'm a vendor, I'm a hawker, I hawk bread. So you see, so to protect myself and my customers, I make sure I sanitize my hands and to protect my customers.
Yes, I know about coronavirus and some of the preventive measures I take. I usually put on my face mask and when I come and I wash my hands often. Like when we're entering the borders, I'm telling you how to wash my hands before we go, and we don't be good as we
The management of the traveling agencies were equally reminded to avoid overloading and to respect the social distancing aspect for passengers.
We know quite all right that coronavirus is existing and we are doing everything possible to prevent it because I'm already using my hand sanitizer. This is my face mask and we have hand washing buckets outside here for all the passengers. We have to see that everybody washes their hands before even paying the ticket. And after, when they are entering the car, they have to wash their hands. And we use the hand sanitizers inside the car for them.
As at August 17, Cameroon has recorded 18,469 infected cases. 16,540 patients have recovered, with 401 cases reported to have died as a result of coronavirus. The town of Limbe is said to have recorded the highest number of infected cases in the southwest region. Stay safe, avoid going to crowded places, and if you must leave your home, put on your face mask and do not forget to respect other preventive measures prescribed by the World Health Organization, implemented by the government to protect yourself and prevent others from being infected by coronavirus.
Thanks, Kmer, for that report. Cameroon's Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, has sanctioned 7 officials from the Ministry of Secondary Education involved in examination malpractices during this year's edition of baccalaureate examinations. This was on instructions of Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Jongote. Eileen Sama tells us more.
After consultation with the Prime Minister, the secondary education bus in Cameroon cancelled and rescheduled the contested papers. Technologie de l'information, physique, sciences de la vie et de la terre et chimie, and CRCD. In order to fish out the 7 culprits who leaked the baccalaureate exams, Minister Nalova-Lyonga set up an administrative commission of inquiry made up of senior officials of the Ministry of Secondary Education, chaired by the Secretary General of MINSEC, as stipulated by the law. The commission carried out its work from the 28th of July to the 17th of August 2020, with assistance from the Judicial Police Department, the National Agency for Information Communication Technologies, and the Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC. During a press briefing in Yaoundé on Monday, August 17, 2020, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga sounded the sanction to the culprits to be duly meted out by the director of the baccalaureate exams.
The source of the leakage of the examinations has been identified and those responsible ascertained. On this basis, provisional measures have been taken, suspending the culprits. The director of the Office of Baccalaureate du Cameroun, Mr. Roger Etienne, has been instructed to ensure a full application of the measures taken. The culprits will be handed over to the competent services of the state to answer for their obnoxious offenses.
The Minister of Secondary Education also reassured the international and national communities that the credibility of the 2020 session of the baccalaureate exams in Cameroon has been preserved.
A meeting on the preparations and evaluation of effective implementation of the 2 official languages in the country was presided over yesterday in Yaoundé. Discussions centered around pertinent issues, one of them the unity of the country. Nora Kakebi tells us more.
Bilingualism is often perceived and considered a problem or major challenge to societal development. Members of the Bilingualism Commission, therefore, yesterday met in Yaoundé via a video conference to give an appraisal of how policies may be implemented by the various stakeholders. The meeting was chaired by Peter Mafani Musonge in his capacity as chairman of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. The meeting was held in preparation for an evaluation mission on the effective implementation of the policy to promote the 2 official languages in Cameroon. In addition, the Commission equally focused on the recent happenings in the country, which could hamper communal life among Cameroonians. According to a press release issued at the end of the meeting, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism is bent on stamping out any excesses likely to destabilize the peace and tranquility in the country.
Head of State, His Excellency President Paul Biya has signed a decree permitting the creation of a National Registry Office, which will help handle the problem of lack of civil status certificates for children in rural and urban centers, as Audrey Zatza tells us in the following report.
Avoir un acte d'état civil de nos jours relève d'une véritable gageure. Plus de la moitié d'enfants dans les milieux ruraux et même en ville n'ont pas d'acte de naissance. C'est pour rectifier cette erreur que le gouvernement du Cameroun, à travers un décret du chef de l'État Paul Biya, a créé le Bureau national de l'État civil, BUNEC. À l'occasion de la journée africaine de l'État civil, le BUNEC s'est déployé dans les rues de Bertois afin de sensibiliser les usagers sur la nécessité de l'acte de naissance. En partenariat avec la Fondation Angola, organisation de la société civile dont le but est de faciliter l'obtention des différents actes d'état civil. Messing Zanga, coordonnateur Fondation Angola, invite les parents à déclarer les naissances à temps afin de donner une existence à leur progéniture.
Nous avons aussi beaucoup agi en matière de mise à la disposition des centres d'état civil, des documents d'état civil. Aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas de rupture. Il n'y a pas de rupture. Nous avons eu en 2020 un petit décalage du fait de l'actualité politique avec la fourniture qui a un peu retardé. Mais aujourd'hui, nous avons un stock ici en agence suffisant de contenir toutes les demandes de documents d'état, de registre d'état civil jusqu'en fin d'année.
D'après Bindi, le chef d'agence BUNEC Est, la campagne est lancée pour l'établissement des actes d'état civil dans la région de l'Est.
3 niveaux au Midi. Le premier niveau, c'est quoi? La sensibilisation. Parce que la loi camerounaise prévoit qu'un enfant dont l'âge se situe entre 0 et 90 jours doit pouvoir déclarer sa naissance directement auprès de la mairie. C'est-à-dire le parent porte son bébé, va directement à la mairie et déclare la naissance. Ça, c'est de manière ramassée parce que la loi, dans sa division exacte, prévoit que 30 jours après la naissance de l'enfant, s'il est né dans un hôpital, ce dernier cet hôpital doit pouvoir délivrer.
La population de la région de l'Est Cameroun est donc informée qu'elle aura jusqu'au mois de septembre pour se conformer à cette campagne.
In church news, we revisit the Feast of Assumption celebrated by Catholic faithfuls in Bertois. It was a dual celebration at the St. Joseph Parish. It was time for Christian faithfuls to accept Christ, be born again as consecrated Catholics through baptism. Details with Audrey Zatza.
Le 15 août, date mythique dans la célébration eucharistique de l'Église catholique romaine, la ville de Bertois n'était pas en reste.
La paroisse Saint-Joseph de Berthois était en double célébration vu qu'elle a consacré les baptêmes pour les tout-petits et environ 20 dames ont été consacrées. Après 2 ans de dur labeur, elles font désormais partie des femmes catholiques du Cameroun. La célébration s'est déroulée en présence des autorités de la ville avec le message du jour portant sur l'humilité de la Vierge Marie qui a été humble devant le Seigneur et a bénéficié de sa grâce. Indome Marie, présidente de l'association des femmes catholiques, était l'invitée de cette célébration.
Il y avait besoin de faire sanctifier les femmes pour servir l'Église en ce mouvement. Elles étaient 10 au départ, mais aujourd'hui, vous voyez ce que nous sommes à travers tout le Cameroun. Et puis le 15 août, nous n'avons pas profité. Nous avons notre matronne qui est la Vierge Marie, bien appelée sur le vocal de l'Immaculée Conception, que la fête se célèbre le 8 décembre de chaque année. Mais qu'à cela ne tienne à toutes les fêtes qui célèbrent la Vierge Marie, nous pouvons consacrer des femmes. Donc c'est pour ça qu'aujourd'hui nous avons consacré les 32 membres qui ont bien suivi leur catéchèse pendant 2 ans. L'abbé Simon-Pierre Bitega, curé de la paroisse Saint-Joseph de Berthois, était également présent.
We celebrate this Feast of Assumption 2020. The visiting priest is coming from Zambia, Kamer, the religious. We were really honored his presence. That's why we allow you to celebrate the first Mass. We also learn enough from him. And it's really a sign of not just discipleship, because all of us we are sons and daughters of our Lord Jesus Christ, but it's a sign that the church is.
Les fidèles ont donc poursuivi cette célébration dans leurs domiciles respectifs dans la joie et la paix avec le Seigneur Jésus-Christ et la Sainte Vierge Marie.
Student journalists on internship Ivona Nube gathered at news-making events around the world. Let's go.
Former U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama has launched an attack on U.S. President Donald Trump together with some disloyal members of Trump's Republican Party at the Democratic Party conference held Monday, August 18, 2020. Mrs. Obama's pronouncements are contained in an emotional recorded message stating clearly that a Black life matters, while regretting the lack of empathy from the White House when leadership and consolidation is expected.
Stating the simple fact that a Black life matters is still met with derision from the nation's highest office. Because whenever we look to this White House for some leadership or consolation or any semblance of steadiness, what we get instead is chaos.
Away from America, the Australian state of Victoria has today, August 18, 2020, witnessed a decrease in the rise in COVID-19 infections for a month following the imposition of measures including a nighttime curfew since August 3, 2020. The country this day has recorded 222 new cases, which is 200 fewer than yesterday's, and about 17 deaths with a death toll of over 334. Notwithstanding, Australia's federal government has imposed mandatory quarantine programs on persons entering the country in a bid to contain the coronavirus. In India, a 13-year-old girl in the northern part of the country has been raped and murdered. This incident has ignited the cry for justice as this teen was strangled to death by 2 men who have been arrested and placed under police custody while further investigations are ongoing. Let's end in UK, where the Education Secretary for UK, Gavin Williamson, during a press interview granted BBC, refused to say whether or not he will resign after making a catastrophic misjudgment of exam results. Mr. Gavin apologized for the inconveniences it might have caused, but blatantly avoided questions of his resignation, with promises of creating the world's best educational systems in years to come.
And now let's talk sports. As the sports world continues to fight against COVID-19, some young footballers in the southwest region of Cameroon have received support from the Cameroon Football Federation. The gesture is expected to reach out to about 520 young players. Details with sportsman Fabrice Kendinga.
Players of some 21 amateur football clubs in the southwest region of Cameroon have so far benefited from COVID-19 relief aid from the Cameroon Football Federation. The donation, which comprises 5 kilograms of rice, 2 liters of oil, and 4 sardines each, is taking place at the newly constructed Fcfa Secretariat in Boya. The philanthropic gesture, coming from the Samuel Eto'o Foundation through Fcfa, targets some 520 licensed regional league players drawn from 27 clubs in the southwest region. Some of the beneficiaries have expressed gratitude to the donor.
I want to appreciate the government, thank the government for putting in place the COVID-19 rules, strict rules. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with this gesture. For the 10 years that I've been a president, we have not seen this. And we know there is no article which binds the association to respect what they have done.
According to the president of the Southwest Regional League of the Cameroon Football Federation, Njive Mulugu Thomas, more assistance is still to come in terms of financial support to the 27 regional league clubs in the days ahead. It should be noted that some clubs have outrightly rejected the gifts from Fcfa, claiming that the southwest and northwest regions have not been properly treated. The argument stems from the fact that Fcfa cancelled the 2019-2020 football season in the country due to the coronavirus pandemic without maximizing their losses. At the time of the cancellation, the Southwest Regional League was left with just a few playing days to the end of the season, whereas other regions had not started. On Saturday, July 15, 2020, the president of Boya United Football Club of Boya, Kaji Valerie, who rejected the gift, handed out an envelope of 25,000 francs CFA to 27 players and management, as well as support staff of his team.
We really feel sorry for the players who don't know what to do, because there are many of them who know one thing, and that is to play football. So them being down for close to 4 months to 5 months, it's not really good. But the management has been trying to keep in touch to tell them about the current situation. It is for everyone's safety, and hopefully by September we might start training again.
Thanks for watching today's edition of Prime News on My Major Prime. With that sports story, we end today's edition of the news. Ewane Eli Nolinga produced the news, coordinated by Lasha Kingsley. My name is Genda Pelgin Blanche King. Until we meet again tomorrow at 6:30 for another edition. Stay tuned to My Major Prime. Coming up next is Prime Enjoy Leonard with his analysts as they discuss issues from in and out of Cameroon. Enjoy your evening. Good night.